was almost 19 years ago that I did my first program with CNHP and realized I had found the calling for me with this organization. As you all probably know, CNHP is changing. And I had planned to retire next year in any event from traveling. Most people retire so that they can travel. I want to retire so I can stay home. What I'm trying to say here is that this will be my last class for CNHP. And I am so proud to have so many good friends from classes past here to share this weekend with us. This is a very special group to me. This weekend we have really spectacular conditions out here in the gardens. We've had good rain this summer. It's a little dry here the last couple of weeks. And so things are showing just a bit of stress. The weather today, this is the perfect window for the end of summer. And we're getting off to such a really nice start this morning. My friends here at the gardens have again offered to give our group a little behind-the-scenes tours on the greenhouse operations and things that it takes to make this place what it is. At the edge of one of my favorite places to be. Many times if you call my workshop and you don't get an answer, it may be because I'm down here under a tree somewhere or up in one of my favorite benches over at Sibley or someplace just reading. But this place is what looks like a natural wonder. And it is a wonder. It is a miracle of persistence. But at the same time, I want to just remind you that there's not a lot truly natural about it. This is a very man-made and cared for and manipulated environment. The area that we're going to be touring today was once, just a little over half a century ago, scrub pine marshland. And through the vision of the Callaways and all, they built this beautiful gardens. It started out to be a hunting preserve and a golf course for the Callaway boys, but there was a woman involved. And she insisted on planting flowers and prettier things. And so that is ultimately what the gardens represent today. Today is going to be spent out looking at plants that are either commonly found or easily grown. We're going to have an opportunity to see a lot of my good friends in the plant world. By no means all of them. For everything there is a season. And this season is the time when we start thinking of barks and roots and things of that nature, as well as fruits that show up, and we'll hopefully encounter a few of all of those things along the way. So we're going to see plants in various stages today, and I'm going to point out a few that you might want to consider either adding to your repertoire or just, having some insight about. This is a boot camp, an initiation in that sense. If you have a history of being able to go out and identify and harvest plants, that's wonderful. If you don't, the primary purpose of this day is to encourage you to be able to do that, to understand that all these things are readily available. They've been given to us. This is not something we have to sign up for, This world of natural medicine works hand in hand with the designer, with the creator of our very being. When we get back in tune with those things, life becomes beautiful and predictable and much less stressful. Every day when I set my steps to head on towards home, I leave behind preparations that I've made and lots of nice brown plastic bottles with pretty little labels and all that sort of stuff on them as well. But the most reassuring thing about my day, my work day, is when I walk outside my door of my shop and I look down and I can see medicine growing in the cracks in the sidewalk. To me, that's universal health care, delivered by somebody who has no charge. Our first stop this morning is going to be over at what is known as Sibley Horticultural Center. That's where the greenhouses are and one of their exhibition little gardens. And Miss Patricia will probably be the individual giving us a tour. She's the guiding hand of the things that are short-term here in the gardens. She and her crew work on the topiaries and the holiday displays and short-term plantings in the vegetable garden. We're going to be able to see that this afternoon, as well as the herb gardens. That's her bailiwick. This is the fun part. From there, we're going to go over to what's known as the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Trail. It's about a 3/4 of a mile little tour back through. It is a pathway, groomed, but at the same time there are stones and steps and roots and things, and it's a fairly narrow one, but we will see lots of things back there at their time for harvest, which is really wonderful. We're going to have a couple of stops today also to nurture the spirit. Our lunch break today will be over at the Day Butterfly Center, and this time they have in the Butterfly Center especially the most beautiful blue morphos butterflies that are just breathtaking and user-friendly. From there we'll go over to the vegetable garden and herb gardens that over the years has evolved greatly. It used to be that it was strictly culinary herbs because a lot of the benefactors of the foundation here happened to be medical people. We encouraged them over the years to add more medicinal plants and were successful in that. And then apparently there was some revenge. So that little area became pretty neglected. This year, Patricia has really dictated that we're going to restore those areas again. So we're going to see some new herb plantings there. A lot of them will be annuals and things that are very common in your gardens, but there's still a few of the medicinals that we work with. From there, we're going to go have another little nurturing time for spirit. There's a beautiful chapel here in the gardens, one of my all-time favorite places. And typically on Saturday afternoons, they have a bit of an organ concert. And then we'll wrap our day up over at the Discovery Center. Tomorrow, we will be putting out for you a virtual candy shop of bulk herbs and things for you to work with. We have bulk herbs in their crude form and powdered herbs as well for capsules and things like that. We have everybody will get to make a tincture and select the things that you want to do with that. We have tea bags to fill and heat sealers to work on that, and everybody will get to make a salve or a balm and understand that process. The goal of tomorrow for me is to have you leave here and go back home saying, you know, I can do that. This is not black magic. You know, this is not hoodoo. This is common sense. Things that our grandparents and those that came before them simply accepted as a way of life. You make good medicine of the things that are available. And we can. And you know, the functional reality is this. I can go out in my backyard and dig a hole and get my medicine. All I have to do is learn to recognize it. That's not hard. God puts it where you need it. And all we have to do is accept it. Acceptance means getting to know the gift. And so for events like this, we set that process in motion. Back there on the back tables, there's some good guidebooks, a couple of my favorites, and I'll go point those out to you. Peterson's Field Guides, Eastern and Central Medicinal Plants and Herbs. Now, don't get hung up on that. If you live out west, the real world is the real world. These things are mobile now, as people are. We take these plants with us, don't we? And this plant covers plants that are found in North America virtually everywhere but in the desert Southwest. This is an excellent guide with good pictures. And when you opened the book, what you could do was just thumb through those pictures, which made it really, really handy if you didn't know what you were looking for. So, looks kind of like that. Oh, no, there's a detail that doesn't work. But there's that kind of flower. Oh, there it is. That's how that would go. This guide gives us a little bit more information, and it's really useful because it also has more information, oddly enough, about how these are actually used. There was this period of time, those of us who've been in this work for some time remember back in the 70s and 80s when the specter of the man, the FDA and all that was over the heads, and lots of things weren't said and couldn't be said. That's changing a little bit, and it's because of people like you who have simply said enough's enough. We can tell the truth, and that's a beautiful thing. I really recommend that people get a second guide of one kind or another, because in here is a picture of the plant. Sometimes there might be two. But it's almost always, like I said, the plant when it's in that perfect flower stage and it's close in on the flower and all that. It doesn't tell you, or it tells you a lot, but it doesn't show you much about the whole plant. So it's really good to have a backup to go to and say, okay, well, that looks kind of like it. Is it? So a second book gives you a cross-reference to go, is that, and see more details. Don't ever think for a moment all of this is programmed in there and you'll never need a guide again, because there's always new things to discover and